Hello guys, today I'm going to go over your end of year assignment. Don't be scared. It's not it's not difficult, but I think it's still important. So I'm just going to kind of read through this assignment sheet with you, fill in a few extra details, just in case you only skimmed the assignment sheet when you read it yourself. So yeah, I know how it works. Okay, here we go. So, first of all, I want to talk about sort of why are we doing this assignment anyways? Why am I making you reflect and, think about your own self? It's so weird. Um, One of the reasons is that this has just been an insane year, right? None of us predicted how 2020 was going to go. And I know that a lot of us are also pretty exhausted from social distancing or from, seeing all of the tragedy and the kind of really difficult things happening on the news. And so, we're all exhausted. And I want to, give you an assignment, that is actually useful to you, but also maybe exercises a little bit of a different part of your brain than that kind of harsher academic, like analytical thinking part of, school. So I'm going to invite you all to reflect instead. And I want you guys to do this thoughtfully. And, if this assignment is mostly graded on your effort and showing me that you actually took time to think. So, actually take this seriously. I know that for some of us, reflection can be a little bit of a uncomfortable, sometimes a little bit of a scary thing, to just really sit with yourself and think, about, your strengths and your weaknesses and maybe some of the parts of yourself that you might struggle with and that you struggle, but you just shove it under the rug because it's easier, right, than facing it. But self-reflection is also a really important way that we can grow, right? We always feel like we have to keep shoving things under the rug until we actually take it out, confront it, and figure out how we can overcome. So that's kind of the big picture. But also then, it's the end of the year, and I was thinking back at my first year of high school, right? You guys have just about finished your freshman year. And so I was thinking about my freshman year. And I remember that the year ended, we all went home, and I honestly, it's not that we didn't talk about, important things, but I forgot it all. I didn't take it with me. And looking back, I recognize that I wasted an opportunity. I wasted something, right? Because we often think that school is just about getting smart. It's about filling your brain with information, with facts. But it might be important to learn facts, but that's not the whole picture of education, right? Because education also teaches us a lot about being human. It teaches us about community, how to interact with others. It teaches us about empathy and compassion, and that, especially as Christians who can recognize that every single thing that we do has the opportunity to lead us to God. That's what we need to be trying to look for in education, is that pathway that can teach us something true, teach us something real, not just something that's factual, but something that is actually meaningful as well. And so that's where we're headed. We're headed in the direction of looking back at what we've learned and taking something with us on our pathway towards seeking something divine, or something that is loving. So throughout the year, we have encountered many important characters and themes that, if we let them, they can really teach us a lot about how to follow God better, how to love God better, and how to love our neighbors as ourselves. And especially in this final unit, we've talked about, the connection between stories and truth. And then, what do we do with that? How can we use stories to foster an attitude of listening and figuring out how we can use stories to better love your neighbor as yourself, and then ultimately love God who created your neighbor, right? And I want us to mindfully apply some of those truths that we have learned this year to your own life and your own story. Even, as we're living through this very odd time in history, it's kind of an odd thing to know that you're living through history, right? It helps us maybe see our lives as part of a larger story, maybe. But also another aspect of, why we're doing this right now is that, especially right now, there is a lot of hurt in the world, right? There are a lot of, people in pain for various reasons. And it is always important, but now more than ever, that we really use the stories around us to help us follow Christ's example through it all. So, the foundation of this assignment is this question here: what is your story, and how can you use what we have learned or read this year to inform your life as a Christian who seeks truth? Obviously, I have made a couple videos about this over the past week, but now it's your turn to kind of take all of the things that you have learned and apply it to yourself. I want you to do the thinking work for this. First of all, it's not an essay. I repeat, it is not a 5-paragraph essay. You might end up with 5 paragraphs, but that's not the goal. You do not need a thesis. This is a 1.5 to 2 page letter to yourself. You are writing as you to yourself in the future, okay? And in this letter, you're going to be kind of reflecting on the year and also looking forward. So you don't just get to write about anything. It's a little bit more guided, but I do really want you to be honest. First, a couple logistical things. Please use 12-point font, Calibri, or Times New Roman. Double spacing it is fine. You are also welcome to single space this, but I do not want to see a header. I just want you to start your page with dear so-and-so, right? Your name. This is not an essay, and so I'm not looking for MLA format. You can put the date on your essay, but on your letter, but you don't need to, follow all of those things. I'm not looking for, all of those aspects. So I want you to, you have the entire next week to work on this. So I really want you to spend some time thinking about your freshman year as a chapter of your story. And obviously, you're the main character in that story, and I want you to do a little character analysis. How is your character viewed by others? How do you view yourself? How do you want to be viewed? Are those the same things, or is there something that, you want to grow in? How do you want your character to continue to develop? What are your strengths or your weaknesses? Or we've talked a lot about blind spots. Really take some time to look at yourself in the mirror or in the figurative mirror and think about your character, right? And then I want you to think about the themes that we've learned this year. We've talked about themes and truths and, how stories can show us something real. And I want you to pick something that we've discussed this year. We've talked about endurance, perseverance, the importance of language and hope and dehumanization and prayer. And what else have we talked about? Blind spots, integrity, innocence, racism, all of this kind of stuff. And I want you to take something that you feel like your character needs to grow in. And I want you to describe it, be specific, explain in your letter why it challenges or inspires you. And I want you to kind of talk about how that's important for your character growth over the next couple of years. If you want, you can also talk, about a specific character who embodies that well, and, connect it to someone in that way, but you don't have to. But keep in mind throughout this whole process that this is a letter to yourself. We are not going to be peer editing this. I will be reading them, but I will keep anything that you write confidential. So this is a time for you to be really honest with yourself, because we've encountered some cool things this year, and it would be a waste if we just left it at the side of the road. So maybe if what you need to grow is some encouragement, you can encourage yourself in your letter. If you need to come up with some specific goals of, these are things that you can do to help yourself grow in this area, then make some goals. This letter is for you. Like I said, it's mostly graded on, demonstrating that you actually thought about this, that you actually took something we learned and you can articulate why it's important for you yourself, and also make a little bit of a game plan or an intention of growing in a specific area. Like I say at the bottom, we have learned so much this year. Don't let it go to waste. And also, if maybe you're one of those people who's like, my character's fine, I'm good, I don't need to grow, that is a lie. You do need to grow. I've seen you all in class. Also, we're all learning, right? None of us ever reach the end of the line when it comes to learning how to be better people, right? The world is a difficult place. It is always changing. And, we always need to be finding the best ways to show God's love to the people around us. And it doesn't always look the same, but it is always worth thinking about and doing our best to figure out. So that's the assignment. The only other thing that I want to mention is that two things that I want to mention. It is due a week from today on Friday, June 5th. And also on that day, we are going to have a Zoom meeting. I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with each class period. And we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the takeaways that you guys have from this semester. Like I mentioned, these letters are confidential, so I'm not going to ask you to, share all of your deepest, darkest secrets with each other, but I might ask you to share, what theme you took away, or maybe something that you might want to do in the future because of that. So, let me know if you have any questions. Since you guys are going to be commenting your attendance today, if you have a question, it will be easiest if you email me. But otherwise, commenting and things like that is also a good way to ask questions. All right, on that note, get to work, think for a little while. You guys have got this.